In today's talk show, we are going to discuss our businesses.
Welcome to Rubin Ivory's Journey in the Making.
Today's word of the day is entrepreneur. Why is it entrepreneur? We're entrepreneurs. Ain't that right, babe?
Yes.
Yes. So we are excited to be entrepreneurs, and just giving a little background about how we're entrepreneurs, we're going to share with you our businesses.
Sure.
All right, so, Rubin has always been an entrepreneur at heart. Yeah, So we're going to start off and take a look at what business he started. What's the name of your business, honey?
RJX Visions. And the reason why it's RJX Visions because it's Rubin for my first name, Jermaine is my first child, and Xavier is X for Xavier. Visions is because I see vision as far as my kids' future, and just seeing vision, just seeing a bigger picture, just actually seeing what it can be, and dreaming big.
And so you've always been a visionary, right?
Always.
So, when you think of a business name, you try to think of things that are going to represent your business and what your business stands for and is about. And so with that word visions, let's backtrack. So with the RJX, we're family driven, right?
Yeah.
And so with us being family driven, it only seemed right to put the kids in there, right?
All the time.
Because ideally, when you have a business, you hope that you're going to build that legacy and you're going to pass that legacy on down to your children, right? So that's powerful.
Yeah, that's real powerful.
That's powerful in that name.
Like you say, you would hope to pass it down to your children. That's the whole thing. To pass it down to them, and for them to actually take heed to it, because, you actually putting in the work for it.
Mm-hmm.
So, putting their name in it, it all kind of just go together.
Exactly,
You know what I mean?
yeah. And then so the visionary part of it, Rubin has always had like extreme visions, just stuff that sometimes scare people, because I know I get scared sometimes, and then after you let it sink in a little bit, it's like, well, okay, I guess we can toy around with that. And I think the interesting thing is when you're talking about business and relationships, you don't want to be too much like one another. So as far as, Rubin being the risky one and then myself being the safer one, it's a good combination. Right. It's a good combination, which is awesome.
Right.
So let's talk about RJX Visions. Tell us, what is it? What do you do, honey?
Well, like I said, Visions is because, like I said, we had already talked about that. So I just want to get into it. It's basically housing, So we got our first property in 2005. I was 21. How old was you?
20.
Yeah, so for me, like I said, I was saying in the earlier segment, I was going to, basically be into the housing industry, regardless of what it took. So we jumped out there early and got a mortgage at the age of 21. I'm like, all right, whatever, I'm about to get this house, we about to get this house. And I told her the idea, that's why she like, just being scared about it. Because it's like we so young, why you want a house? Like, let's go, rent something. But like I said, for me, it was like, no, I want to get this house because it's not going to be my only house. So I was already thinking like that. And it's crazy for me to be thinking like that so young, but that was just me. I was just ambitious like that. So, 21, we bought our first house. And then just so happened, I was going to get the second house regardless of what it took. But the market ended up crashing in 08, 09. So I ended up getting my first piece of property in 09. It was a 2-family flat. And when I went in there, it was like, oh, this is it. And then everybody was looking at me like, what? Like, no, we're not getting this house. You know what I'm saying? And it was like only $1,500. I'm like, man, this is a winner. It was 6 bedrooms. You know what I mean? It was brick.
3 up, 3 down.
Yeah, right. It was brick. I'm like, what is y'all talking about? I remember Gil was there as well. But just looking at me like,
what do you see?
Like, run. They was like, run. It's a hole in the wall. Run. Get away. Me, I've been there like, wow. Like, this house is great. So I remember when we got home later that day, I'm like, all right, so we gonna get the house. She's like, what house? Like, I didn't see nothing on the list that looked good. Because we had looked at like a couple houses that day.
Yeah.
And you was like, I didn't see that. You know, I was like, you don't remember the house on? And you was like, so you want to get that? So the look on her face was crazy. So we ended up getting the house, purchased it or whatever. So we had to do everything in there.
Yeah. How much did it go for though?
It went for $1,500.
$1,500, y'all. I know some people that would like blow your mind to the thought of like you can buy a house for that dirt cheap. You know, that's crazy, right?
Yeah, it's crazy when you think about it like that, man.
But, you know, definitely with paying such a low amount, of course you can expect that you have to go in doing a lot of work to it. But, you know, still, even when you look at by the time you spend the money that it takes in order to repair and renovate the house, you're still winning, you know, because you have something that is debt free. You don't have no mortgage, didn't have to get no loan to get it. Maybe loans here or there to do the repairs, but you know, for the most part, you free and clear. You don't got no mortgage, which I think is amazing. You know, and ideally, you want to have a debt-free business if possible. But now the business RJX Visions started back in 2010.
2010.
Yeah. So purchased that house, and then once you saw you were going in that direction as far as getting the house and then wanting more houses, it's like, all right, we got to establish a business.
Yeah. And at that point, that's why I said, well, what's going to be your business now? I'm like, okay, well, you know, we had already had our kids. So I'm like,
something meaningful.
Yeah, it's going to definitely be the kid's name. You know, so I wanted it to be my name. So we kind of went with that, you know. And then, like I said, the visions was just, like I said, basically, like I said, thinking outside the box, you know, just being that visionary.
Right.
So, and like I said, then leaving something for the kids, you know. So, RJX Visions, that's where it came from.
And then as far as the inspiration, let's talk about that a little bit. Like, what inspired you to want houses? Like, why did you like houses?
Like I said, my family always, as I was younger coming up, just was in the housing, you know. They was always getting houses. Now, me coming up, I didn't know what was going on. I just knew that we was either always moving or always getting a lot of houses.
Right.
So I remember just, you know, being young, being like 8 or 9 and just curious and asking my uncle, like why, you know, like, why we not keeping any of these houses? Like, we done been to so many houses, like, why we not keeping them?
Yeah.
So, you know, for me, just thinking that young, you know, like, really just, you know, the family, you know, actually buying the house and thinking that young, even on trying to keep it, just that mind frame I had.
Right.
And, you know, seeing the family get houses and things like that, fixing them up, that was some inspiration for me as far as that right there.
Right.
And then, you know, just going from there, just being able to see them working on houses was good for me, you know. Okay. Like I said, I liked it, that motivated me, that inspired me. So
y'all got to work on some houses together?
I've never really actually worked on the houses with them.
Okay.
But
you saw them doing
I was
the
just
work.
in it, and it was just something that inspired me. It just gave me, you know, motivation. Like, oh man, I wonder how that's gonna look when it's finished. Like, I wonder how that paint job gonna look when it's finished. You know, so it gave me inspiration from that. And then, like I said, from there I just kind of just got into it, just like, you know, being outside playing, just like building stuff. You know what I'm saying? Putting stuff together. You know. So basically, with that being said, just being outside playing, building things. And
your best friend. Talk about that. I think that's kind of cool.
Oh, you talk about, so one of my best friends that's still my friend today, basically, he had got into it with the kids on the block. I was already playing with the kids on the block, so he got into it. His name was Ray. So anyways, they was playing with him on the block. He got mad at the kids, the neighborhood kids. So they like, oh, we're not gonna play with him no more. So basically from there, Ray just went off to the side and he kind of just started building like a clubhouse basically on the sidewalk.
On the sidewalk.
I'm like, well, shoot.
Broad daylight. Just I'm about to build a house right here on the sidewalk.
I'm like, man, well, I'm like, that's what I want to do. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, that kind of brought me to him because I'm like, well, bro, what you doing? Let me help you. You know what I'm saying? So we on there, we build. I don't think we ever finished the actual But at the same time,
Y'all laid the foundation.
Yeah, we laid the foundation. It was the point that, you know, we was thinking like that.
Right,
you know what I
right,
mean?
right.
So,
Definitely.
yeah. And then, like I said, as far as what else was inspiring for me was, you know, when we got our first place, you know, our landlord or whatever, he was a black guy. And he basically owned like a whole strip of apartments. And it was like a four to 5 unit strip of apartments.
Yeah.
And he actually owned a restaurant that was right next door to the apartments. And I can remember just being young and staying in his apartments, and he actually took heed to me, like he wanted to sit down and talk to me. The reason why he wanted to sit down and talk to me, because it was at that point while I was young, he was like, well, I was telling him like, man, I'm gonna have to move because I don't want to have to not be able to pay you rent. And he sat me down like, well, what you moving to? What you doing? And you know, that was when he kind of just like took me under his wing and was like, there's no sense of you moving to go less. He was like, I'd rather for you work for me, mop a floor, then I can take some rent off. I'm like, you would do that for me? Like, I never even thought about nothing like that. He like, yeah, just talk to me. He like, you pay your rent on time. There's no reason why I wouldn't. You know what I mean? Like, some people can't do half of what you're doing at your age. So I already know that you have the potential to actually be great. So I'm like, man, that was big for me, because I'm like, man, I'm just glad you were able to do this, because I wanted to keep the apartment. It was a nice apartment. And he just sat there and he talked to me. He was like, no, what we gonna do is you're gonna mop these hallways. I'm gonna take $100 off your rent, you know what I mean? And that's gonna take you down to your $450 that you're trying to get to.
That you feel is affordable.
Yeah,
right.
The rent was what, a $550?
$550.
Yeah, he was like, and that's gonna take you down to your $450. Meanwhile, he like, if you ever decide you wanna move, I want you to move and I want you to go up.
Right.
I want you to move up. I don't want you to downgrade. I want you to, you know what I'm saying, motivate yourself as far as moving forward, not backwards. So I'm like, man. And, you know, he just had a real conversation with me, young.
And that was so real for him to have that conversation with
Yes.
you. And wholeheartedly meant it, but I think it was double-sided because of the fact that he valued us as tenants because of the fact we paid our rent on time. You know, we prioritized. You know, there was that one time where we had a car accident, and it was like, fix the car, pay the rent, fix the car, pay the rent. And you end up letting that car go to pay your rent, you know. But we have to make sure that we're doing that we are prioritizing and we are appreciative of things that we have, because sometimes people fail to value things nowadays. You know, utilities are a necessity. You need a place to stay, you need utilities, things like that are important. So when you're blessed to have those people who support you, and with Rubin being upfront and saying, hey, I can't afford to pay this much, so we're going to have to move. You know, he's thinking ahead and being considerate of the owner, essentially, versus just saying, well, I'm just going to start paying my rent late. I don't care if I get late fees.
I'm not going to pay it at
all. Or I'm not going to pay it at all. You know, so I think that is so valuable and that's so important. But, I mean, Mr. Gordon and Mrs. Gordon, they were awesome, definitely. You know, and they saw that we were young parents out here working jobs, going to school, and paying rent more responsibly than some adults that you saw out there at that time, which for us, you know, we were blind to that. We're like, what? People don't pay their rent. Like, what do you mean? We're good paying. We like, don't everybody pay their rent? Right. And that kind of opened our eyes to that. And then, so I think that really helped with us being into the housing industry to see that, you know, you think like, okay, yeah, if I have this many places occupied, I should be making this much money. And the fact of the matter is, no, it don't necessarily work that way, because everybody does not have their priorities in order, you know, and it's very unfortunate. And I feel like it's important that we do push to get back to that, where we're valuing people's services and what they're offering. So, you know, everyone cannot do what this man do right here. Yes, we do it together.
It's
you
blessings,
know, he has his role, I have my role. But, you know, he wholeheartedly loves what he does, and no matter, you know, who's there, he's taking care of his properties. He wanted to look good because he wanted to look good. You know, he cares about what other people are living in. And, you know, from that standpoint where people say, you should make your, investment properties just as comfortable as something you live in.
Yes.
He make them look better than where we live at. I be like, man, can we get, take care of the house a little bit? Can we get some upgrades? I mean, just saying. So, but we've done better with that as far as improving our own home and things like that.
Right.
But, that just speaks to his passion. And I think that it's very important that in whatever business you want to do, that you are passionate. Pick things that you really, really love and are interested in doing. I think that's important.
Most definitely.
So, we could be up here all day talking about housing and whatnot.
Right. But I mean, before you say that, inspiration too, because 2007, I ended up losing my job. So as far as having just one income, it really took a toll on me, because it's like, man, I only got this one income. We had got our first house and we was paying a mortgage, and I ended up losing my job. And it was like, okay, and for me, it hit me hard, because it's like, man, like, if I don't get this income coming in, I'm not gonna be able to move forward, or I'm not gonna be able to take care of my family. So that kind of touched me at that point, where I was like, I gotta get more than one income coming in. You know what I mean? Like, it really hit me. Like, I always was gonna do it, but when I ain't had a job, I'm like, oh yeah, this can't be it. This can't be life. You know what I'm saying?
We can't live like this.
So I
if something drop off, something else got to be there.
Yeah, something else got to be in there to fill that gap. So I just wanted to touch on that.
Yeah,
as
that
well,
is important.
You know what I mean? Because, like I said,
which is just why the businesses happen. Like you said, that was like where it began. Like, okay, we got to do something else to get additional incomes coming in. Yeah. So that we can make sure that, we are okay financially. Right. Especially when you talk about mortgage. We had car notes at the time.
Yeah. 2 car notes?
Yeah, 2 car notes, lights, gas.
Mortgage.
It adds up. Yeah. And so, with that being said, you definitely have to make sure that, you're constantly thinking of, how can I make money? I mean, I think that we constantly just talk about that. Yeah. What else can we do? What else can we do?
And then I guess that's basically 2016, that's when you started your business?
2016, April 15, 2016. Yeah. So that is the birth of my business, IG Photography. So as you can see, the beautiful shirt here, living that mom, wife, photographer life, if you will. I love it. Shout out to Ari's Wedding and Events, who created this beautiful t-shirt that you see that I have on. Babe, what yours say over there?
I can't make this up.
I can't make this stuff up.
Yeah.
That was also made by Ari's Wedding and Events. And so with that t-shirt, going back to housing and the fact of that statement, I can't make this stuff up, it's a lot of stuff that we done endured and been through. And when I say that line is so crucial, I can't make this stuff up. Some of this stuff be like, is this for real? Am I getting pumped? Where is the cameras at?
Right.
So, and I think that's just in any type of business that you do, you'll have things that just are like, wow, unbelievable stuff. So with my business, IG Photography, I specialize in high school seniors and sports photography. So starting out, I didn't know what direction I wanted to go in as far as photography goes, because it's so wide. I mean, you can do so many things with photography. So some of the things that I started out with was doing event photography. And event photography is where I got a lot of my footing. I actually have a cousin by the name of Zach. Shout out to cousin Zach.
Yeah, Zach.
He took me under his wings. And so he had a couple different things. He had a wedding, anniversary party, a couple birthday parties that he allowed me to actually come along and be his protege. And he showed me a lot of the ropes. I mean, he was so confident in me from the start, which I truly appreciate. And
to touch on Zach, that's my cousin, when you started talking about getting into photography, he was like, well, babe, I got to start following somebody. I got to have a mentor. And for me, it was like, okay, mentor, that's fine. But then she was like, I want to go behind and follow like different guys, this and that. And for me, I'm like, hey!
There was this random guy.
Yeah, like
I'm like, he offered. He said that I could come shadow him.
I say, nah, I don't like that. Let me hit cuz up. Instantly.
We gonna go with somebody we know.
At least somebody I know that I can be like, okay, well, you know, they focusing on exactly what need to be focusing on as far as the photography. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that was big for me. And then, I mean, the simple fact that even when we started talking about photography and when we went up there, it was like, what else can I do? When we was going into the stages and you was trying to figure out what else can I do to make money. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I don't know, like, you know, what you thinking?
Something flexible, too.
It had to be flexible.
Yeah, something flexible, because I was working full time.
Yeah.
I was working full time at Comcast, and then I also was working part time as a social worker. Right. So I was like, dang, you got room for something else. So it really, really had to be flexible because my social work job was flexible. And with the social work job being flexible, I had just, you know, slight time here or there, and I didn't want it to be something that was going to be constantly like a daily job. And so with the photography, it was perfect because of the fact that I could do so many jobs and I can book them in my schedule as needed. And so that worked out perfectly with the photography because it's like, I could book different jobs and that'll work out, you know, and I can work it around my schedule, which worked out phenomenally. Yeah. And I think it helped too, like with having the weekends off at Comcast, because a lot of events happened on the weekends. Yeah. So that was perfect.
That was big.
Yeah.
That was big.
And so, but yeah, so Zach, he allowed me to shadow up under him. And with me shadowing under him, he showed me the ropes and he saw the potential that I had, which I appreciated that. Because, you know, I think with any business, but definitely one where you're interacting with people, you are very self-conscious about getting in front of people, snapping that picture, taking too many pictures. Some people don't like taking pictures. So I had to learn how to use my social work skills, my people skills, and my customer service skills.
You had to put it all together.
Intertwine in my photography, in my photography business, which I think which I know really helps me to be a phenomenal photographer. Because I love people and I love engaging with people. Yeah. And so that worked out perfectly. And so it was like I definitely had a couple clients that gave me opportunities. And I had people that believed in me. And I think it's because they believed in me as a person. But I gotta shout out my girl Helen. Because you know Helen put me on too. Helen got so much family and friends. Yeah. And, you know, she was like, I saw you doing photography now. And she set me up with a couple jobs. And, I mean, it was just, like, phenomenal. And I gravitated to her family. And I'm very appreciative to Helen, her family. So, shout out to y'all out there. Thank y'all so much for, you know, just believing in me and allowing me the opportunity to expand with my photography. And it was like, once I got on social media and started getting my friends and things like that, it just kind of spiraled. And it's nothing short of a blessing. Because again, you know, I just put my anything and my all into it. And Rubin will tell you, I mean, I obsess over photography. I get out there and it's like, I just keep going and keep going, right? And it's because I love it so much. So it doesn't become work. It becomes something that I truly enjoy and love. And that's a phenomenal thing when you find that thing that's near and dear to your heart and you love doing it. When you do it, it don't feel like work, which makes it awesome. So, you know, I'm very appreciative for going to the movies on that day back in 2016, going to see Picture Perfect at the Imagine Theater. Picture Perfect, where I had that light bulb moment where he was the photographer and he photographed a beautiful young lady. And, you know, he just had that camera. And I'm going to tell you, eventually, yes, my stuff will be in an art studio somewhere.
Yes.
Because you got to keep dreaming and dreaming big. Yes. And I just want to say shout out to all of my photography industry that's out there. We're very cohesive and close-knit. I would be remiss if I didn't mention Miss Sherelle Bird. She definitely took me on and was like, sis, I'm going to this conference. You need to get in. And, you know, she started telling me about different names. And she like, did you see this podcast? And you need to check out this video.
It turned because it was like, babe, you going to go to this conference with me? It was like, oh, man, she done turned into a whole nother level.
Oh,
like,
she's a monster now.
She's a monster with it. Like, conference? What you talking about? And
first it started off local. So I was out in Livonia. And then I end up going out of the state. You know, we going to Atlanta, we going to Tennessee.
Yeah. Meeting all types of people.
All types of people, and it's just such a beautiful thing. And I'm just right at home in the midst of it when I do that. When we can do that, and I'm so thankful Rubin has been able to come along with me on that journey. You know, definitely to meet people as well. For sure. Because again, it's a team effort, so we both are involved in each other's business, which helps it flourish and make it successful. So. Definitely wanted to give you some background as far as our businesses and what we do. I'm just saying how much we love what we do. And again, you know, at the end of the day, how do I get started, right? Some people might be asking, how do I get my business started? Just start it. Start somewhere. Start talking to people who are going to encourage you and who are going to inspire you. Oftentimes people are like, oh my God, what are y'all doing now? And it's just like, we'll continue to amaze people because, as they say, we unstoppable. We ain't stopping. We gonna keep finding things to do, you know, because that's life. You want to get the most out of it while you can. And trust and believe that people are watching you. They're looking at what you are doing. And, you know, you want to show them nothing but positive things, inspiring things. And, you know, just start YouTubing, looking up videos, finding out information relevant to your business and what you want to do.
Yeah, like you say, write down a few things.
Right, definitely get you a notebook, a journal, something to jot down those notes. And, you know,
a few ideas.
You know. And I'm definitely a very spiritual person. You know, we're spiritual, but, you know, I'm at a point and a place where the Lord talks to me about certain things.
Yeah, even if it comes to you in your dreams.
Even if it comes to you in your dreams, you gotta have a notepad right by your side. Like my auntie she said you gotta sleep with a journal, a diary, your cell phone, something right there next to you. And even if you put it in the notes section of your phone or you sending out a text message to somebody, you know, it's like, because you think you'll remember it, but you could be hours later and you're like, man, I had a thought and I lost it. Write it down. I'm telling you, you won't regret it.
You want to jot down a few things, I mean, and just take out of your everyday life and see what you're good at. If it's cooking, if you be like, well, dang, you just got to, you know, look at the bigger picture. If everybody in the neighborhood or everybody in your family love your cooking, hey, try it.
You got something there.
Make a couple dinners, you know what I'm saying? See what happens. You know, if you start somewhere, $5, $10 dinners, you know, you'd be surprised where that'll take you. But you gotta be it's gotta be something you're passionate about.
Don't do it. It can't just be about the money.
You can keep pushing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it can't just be about the money. And I'm glad you said like the $5 or $10. You know, when you start out, you start low. You know, so for example, with rent, we started out at what?
We started off at about $300,
$350 $350 a month. That was the rent started out.
That was an apartment.
That was an apartment, 1 bedroom apartment. Now what is the apartments up to?
We up to $425 now.
Right, $425,
give or take.
$450, right, depending. So there was growth over time in that. And so with my photography services, I started out at $50 an hour. Some people like, that's chump change, that's no money. But $50 an hour, and so now sessions are like $250. So you see that growth over time, but it's not just a, hey, I'm jumping right into this and I'm charging $250 right off the bat. Because if that quality ain't where that price is, then whatever it is that you're offering, you just want to make sure that your quality is matching the actual price that you want to charge. You know, so don't feel like you got to come in right off the bat dominating in terms of your price. You may be at a loss in the very beginning, but you're gaining the experience, you're gaining clientele and things like that to help build and establish your business. So that is extremely important.
For me in my business, like I said, I'm always thinking big, and I'm always thinking like, okay, what can I do to benefit for everybody? So in my head, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get a 3-bedroom. So once I got the 3-bedroom, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna need a 2-bedroom, I'm gonna need a 1-bedroom, and I'm gonna need just a regular room. So, you know, I want to pretty much cater to all needs.
Any and everybody. Right. He like, what do they need? Okay, I need to have anything that somebody
Yeah.
possibly needs.
Yeah, so.
But you know, that's that care. So
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
So awesome. Great talk, babe.
Yes.
It's always good looking back over the years and just, you know, thinking back of where you began, you know, because everybody has a beginning, and, you know, it's up to you to shape and mold what things look like once you get past that beginning, that journey.
It's the consistency.
You definitely have to
It's
stay
the
consistent,
consistency.
okay?
Yeah.
You can't just say that, you know, I cook dinners and I only cook them once a month because people gonna forget about you. What happened to you? I thought you were selling dinners, you know, so definitely want to be
It's the
consistent.
consistency.
Yeah.
For sure. The day by day.
And you have to take it one day at a time. Don't get overwhelmed. It will be stress involved, but thus anything in life will be stressful. So it's up to you to try and decrease your stress and make it as less stressful as possible. Because again, you don't get in things to become stressed about it. You get into it to enjoy them and to reap the benefits. But at the same time, make sure you ain't stressing yourself out too much.
Nope.
Because, you know, if you're somewhere not able to enjoy the fruits of your labor, then what good is that?
You gotta make it count.
Yeah,
Gotta
so
make it
definitely.
count. You know.
So that's that. And again, in today's video on the talk show, we've talked about our businesses. So we thank you so much for watching. As always, please be sure to follow us on social media, Rubin and Ivory's Journey in the Making. We also want to make sure that you like this video. Share it.
Yes.
Make sure you also subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. Again, that's Rubin and Ivory's Journey in the Making. Like and subscribe.
Yes.
Thank you so much for watching.
Thank you. Appreciate
And
you.
until next time, take care.